Hey nerds, so talking about Eric Weinstein, former mathematician, or at least has a degree in math, and he was financial advisor to Peter Thiel for years, who's of course the billionaire Trump sycophant who's the least charismatic person in the world. And but I would say even though Eric Weinstein, he thinks a lot more about himself than he should. He has he has delusions of grandeur, I would say. He has not become a pseudo-intellectual crackpot like his brother Brett Weinstein, who's gone all like fucking conspiracy theory about literally everything, not just vaccines, but literally everything. Pretty much that's why he's a huge MAGA guy now too. But anyway, this is basically about, you know, Eric Weinstein's whole opinion on physics and that it's dead, and he doesn't get into his own grand theory of everything, geometric unity, but it's kind of ironic and hypocritical given this clip here, but he makes good points too, so let's get into it here.
In 1913, we found the last major landmass on Earth, which turned out to be Severная Zemlya, north of Siberia. And it was mapped by 1932. That's 90 years in our past. Nobody is searching for major landmasses on Earth. Why? Because that game is over. It closed, right? The idea that the rules of chess can never be known, right, which is really what a theory of everything is. It's just a search for rules where...
Okay, so he's jumping from like analogy to analogy as he always does here, and he's like being as pedantic as possible to dress up his point. Although, like, I ultimately agree with a lot of his points here. So he's jumping from searching for major land masses to the rules of chess to theories of everything. So, like, the search for land masses is done, and so that means the theories of everything should be done because theories of everything are done, and the rules of chess and that sort of stuff. I mean, like, to play devil's advocate to that opinion though, how do you know that the theories of everything are as well and efficiently explored as the rules of chess, which seem to me are probably even more well explored than every major landmass, although like with satellites now I could see how they're mapped out. But like, can you really have how the hell can you definitively test a theory of everything? I mean, to me that's actually a point against a theory of everything, because like if you can't actually test it, does that even make it valid? Does that make it more valid or less valid? I'd say less valid, but it depends on how you're looking at the situation. But he'll get more into his point here.
At some point,
Anyway,
the scientists put down their pen
actually.
and the philosopher that the rules of chess can never be known, right? Which is really what a theory of everything is. It's just a search for rules where at some point the scientists put down their pen and the philosophers are the only one interested because of this mythical equation.
Is that a baby in the background? It's in this video. There's not a baby around here.
Which really should be a Lagrangian, not an equation.
Oh.
That sense, it flatters at some point the scientists put down their pen and the philosophers are the only one interested because of this mythical equation, which really should be a Lagrangian, not an equation. That sense
should be a Lagrangian, not an equation. Is he talking about E equals MC squared? He doesn't actually say which equation. He might mean that one, but I could be totally off. Either way.
It flatters our current sense of ourselves, but it's obviously not true. We're not looking for an extension of the genetic code. We're sort of curious that maybe something doesn't follow.
Wait. So E equals, so his logic is that E equals MC squared is not true, which means that the genetic code is not true. Like, there's no connection between E equals MC squared. How is there a connection between E equals MC squared and genetics? Because like biological material is made up of atoms and that sort of stuff. That's just the sort of philosophical justification that every physicist uses to dismiss philosophy entirely. But like, how do you actually know, like, if atoms are biological, and that means that you can reduce everything to math, then I think that's kind of the point that he's making. Can you reduce genetics to theories of everything? Or actually, I guess he's making the point that you can you kind of know everything about the theory of genetics, and you can't. Well, it's still not a good comparison to theories of everything. Like genetics and theories of everything are, well, like one is math and one is biology, and they're totally different realms of science. Although you could say that they're related if you really stretch it, but I totally kind of I get what he's getting at here, but his analogies are, as usual, just really not good.
But in fact, there are things that close, there are things that extend infinitely, and we need the wisdom to know the difference.
Okay. But yeah, so I mean, overall, I get his point that, theories of everything, they might be played out, which, and there have been so many people, and he uses innumerable examples. I mean, I can't think of many, but like there are these innumerable examples that he uses himself of people who pose theories of everything, and then he has all of these criticisms and says why all these theories of everything are wrong. And but again, like what I was getting at earlier is that this is kind of like obviously hypocritical and ironic, given his grand theory of everything, as he says, geometric unity, which he lays out in detail. And if you listen to people who actually study these realms of theoretical physics that he talks about, you can see that he's educated on different theories of physics enough to talk about them. But in this long mathematical paper where he went into detail, as much detail as he's ever gone into his theory about geometric unity, which is to him a theory of everything. It's, I think, if I'm definitely oversimplifying, but it's something like blending math with geometry or something like that, and prioritizing math over physics, which is obviously a bias since he has a degree in math and not specifically physics. So he thinks he knows more about physics because he knows more about math. But anyway, according to, I forget what their guys' names are, but according to a bunch of theoretical physics, or a handful of I guess it was just a couple of theoretical physicists who did an analysis of Eric Weinstein's paper on geometric unity, they found that it wasn't like a scientific paper at all. It was just him vaguely describing concepts and comparing these vague mathematical concepts in physics to other concepts, and he's not like actually laying out his theory or giving enough evidence for what he's saying in his theory of geometric unity. So, like, I think, like I said earlier, I think that Eric Weinstein makes some good points, even though he's way too full of himself, and he's definitely, like, I would say that he's a guru, that he's a secular guru, as they say on the Decoding the Gurus podcast, because he he thinks that he's gonna like save the world with his genius brain and all that shit. But yeah, he has this grand theory of everything, which, according to a lot of experts who have talked about it, is really not going to work at all. But I think his point remains, though, that, and also, like I said earlier, he hasn't become like a fucking wacko conspiracy theorist like his brother too. And I don't know who the Kraken is, but they said, "Hey there, how are things going?" But anyway, yeah, he hasn't become like a conspiratorial crackpot like his brother Brett Weinstein. And like I said, he does make good points that, even if you, for the sake of argument, set aside the fact that he posits his own theory of everything, which has been like kind of debunked by people who know more about this realm of theoretical physics and math than he does. Uh, I think he does accurately point out that theories of everything are kind of like a waste of time. Like, can you really reduce all of reality into an equation? Like, I don't really think you can. And it's funny that he does that too. So basically, my point is that he accurately points out that theories of everything are kind of bullshit, but then he also, immediately after, well, not immediately after, but well, still, actually, after positing his own theory of everything, he says that theories of everything are bullshit. And this theory, actually, I remember this clip was older. So he said that theories of everything are bullshit. And then he posited his own theory of everything, which is bullshit.